Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning, everybody.
Monday.
Yeah. Great weekend.
Yeah.
We went
definitely.
fishing
Yeah.
and spent about 2 hours. I colored with my pencil coloring book thing, and
She did what she wanted
Jim
to do.
fished, and it was.
We enjoyed the wildlife and
Yeah, it was
and
lovely.
did some casting and caught no fish, but
Yeah.
But we did enjoy the outing. And
We're trying to kind of a new thing that we spend more time on the weekends just doing stuff that we don't unplugging. So it's been a really good
beautiful family
Yeah.
weekend, which is one of the big motivations for getting back to Utah was to get plugged into family stuff, and we've been able to enjoy a lot of that.
It's been wonderful.
Been good. Yeah.
Announcements.
Well, we just have of course
what starts today?
Well, that's Compliance Unleashed in Fort Worth. So people should already be on the way there. I think registration starts this evening and then mostly be
so
tomorrow.
Have a great conference.
It's
Sure. It's really good
Too
stuff.
bad we couldn't make it. I would have enjoyed being out there.
We were invited to be there, but weren't able to make that work.
Yeah, we got because we had to go fishing. So no, of course not. We just had
some other stuff that was happening here.
We got some other big stuff coming to the 4, and I'm excited. I don't want to talk a lot about it today, but man, we got some really
Wednesday,
great stuff.
I'm hoping that we have some really
information to release. We've been chipping away at some big stuff, so we're excited to get that out there. But otherwise we got Brent Carmichael coming on Friday. We've reached out to a couple people about stepping in to join us as a collection supervisor, but we haven't had anybody step forward.
We've that on that. I think people get like stage fright.
There's some of
that. I think that's it.
There is some
So we've got those coming up, and then next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but the next Wednesday, Tommy's going to be rounding out our month of collections. Tommy Brandis from Pennsylvania, and
tune in that day. That'll also be Tommy's 31st anniversary.
Yeah, we had him on his 30th.
Yeah.
So it was good stuff.
Yep.
Okay, what else?
That's it.
Okay,
we can jump into our topic. And so I think, for today, we just wanted to, I got a couple things I can refer you to, but, for our topic today, we talked about, how to know if your portfolio is performing well. So I'm going to give you the top 2 ways. In fact, I'll just tell you right up front, I'll share the link in the comments here and try to do it as we're speaking here. But we did a webinar. It's been a couple of years ago, did a webinar on the top 7 indicators of, is your portfolio performing well? Okay. So
how long ago
that's
was
out
that?
there.
That was a while ago.
I didn't see the actual data. It says 2+ years in YouTube. So, but that information is still relevant. It's definitely, but today we're going to focus on 2. Like, I'm just going to give you 2 indicators. If I were a dealer today and I had 2 numbers that I wanted to see, first and foremost, they would not be delinquency. It would not be recency.
It's funny that most everybody, those are the 2 things that they're looking at, and it's delinquency, and they're good numbers to be watching, but they're not an indicator about how well you're collecting.
Well, it's also because it's an easy report to run in the DMS, and dealers don't, if it's not in the DMS, that most dealers don't, I should say most. We meet a lot of dealers who don't know how to produce the other reports or really don't even know what to be looking at. So that's okay. But just, we hope that what we share today will give dealers an indication of.
And I'm hoping that when we do this, as you're sharing the things, that we can talk about why this is better than recency, a recency report, why this is better than a delinquency report, so that people can understand, what kind of meat you're getting with this kind of reporting.
Yeah. So I'm saying there are 2. And we've talked about, and by the way, I went back into the search. I don't find that we've talked specifically about collection efficiency on the morning show. I thought surely we had.
Because that's like something you've been talking about.
That's been my career, but I don't see that we've done an episode. Now, we probably talked about it in the context of other conversations. Not an episode
collection
and
efficiency.
We probably should go into some kind of depth on that at some point for today. And by the way, I don't know of a single software that will spit out this report. we have to produce it ourselves.
And there are softwares that you have the ability to produce them a little bit more easily than others.
Right.
I know that there are some out there that are less expensive. A lot of the beginning dealers, that's just kind of where they gravitate to.
Mm-hmm.
And squirrel, yeah.
Sure.
Any dealers out there that are new, be really careful about what software you choose when you start, because it is hell to change software.
Yeah. And also you just don't realize what you're missing. And you don't like this collection efficiency thing. I can't think of anything. Well, let me just ask it this way, dealers. What is more important in your buy here, pay here business than verifying the performance of your portfolio? I'll wait. I can't think of anything either.
Nothing.
So you got to know how your portfolio is performing. Like, we can sell and we can rush cars through the recon center, but if we're pumping contracts into a portfolio that's not performing, then man, we're on a crazy wheel.
And it's kind of one of those things too that you hear when dealers start having problems or challenges. The very first thing that seems like most dealers, I just need to sell more. I just need to sell more and I'll be fine. And it's like, let's go back just a couple of steps. And
so, portfolio performance. So obviously the month of May is about collections. And so I wanted to make sure that even though we've touched on this some, and we've got other material out there, I wanted to just make sure it's included in the conversation about collections. So let's talk about what collection efficiency is. And I'm not aware of a software that will produce it in a summary report. Like, this is our own calculation. And there are some DMS systems that will produce an important part of what you would need to run a collection efficiency report routinely and have it really be accurate. But I don't know of one. So it's not like your better software is going to have it. It's just going to make it easier for you to produce what I'm suggesting you would produce. So collection efficiency, and the quickest explanation, is going to be the measurement of how much you collected in a given range. We're typically looking at that weekly. That's really important in my mind, to stay to a weekly rhythm on that. So you would produce a report that says, this is what we're contractually expected to bring in. Okay,
this is just like, if not taking into account any lates, anything, it's just based on the contract with, 300 accounts. This is what we're contracted to bring in this week.
Yep. And so not every system will produce that. And if it doesn't, then with other clients, we've had to go to create an estimate, which is not my favorite. It's like you're just saying, we have an average payment across our entire portfolio of this much per week. We have this many active contracts at the start of the week. So for that week, we would expect to bring in X amount of dollars. Well, we all know, because of weekly or bi-weeklies and semi-monthlies and monthlies, it's not going to look like that, but it's still accomplishing mostly what I'm trying to accomplish, which is, what's the portfolio supposed to produce and what is it actually producing? And measure that. I mean, there's just nothing. And I've looked, there's all kinds of other numbers out there and things to measure. But if I were looking at portfolio performance and I wanted to know so by the way, we wouldn't look at that on any given week. On any given week, that number could be high or low. And especially if you're doing that averaging thing, the numbers will be high and low. But it's like, if you see that number and that number is not 93% or better, is the number that we look for. And this is based on 20 plus years of measuring this number. So we're looking for the portfolio to be producing 93% or better on that. Now, by the way, that's a filtered number. So we're going to take out the large payments.
The large payments and
unexpected money. So again, go to I think our little short video on that's like a little webinar. We did like a little free webinar, and we'll
post it in the comments.
There's a top 7 indicators, for portfolio performance. So you can find that on YouTube. But basically, when we look at that number, that's going to tell us a couple things. And the reason that's so important to me is because there's a lot of things. There's philosophy that you might bring into the business. So if you employ a bend without breaking approach, which is what we recommend in our own training, then if you adopt that approach, then your delinquency report is not going to be as telling. Like, you're going to have some ebbs and flows and spikes, seasonal, whatever, with delinquency. And in my way of thinking, based on everything that we teach and that we know about the industry, and as a former dealer myself, we just know that employees collectors don't have a lot of impact on delinquency unless they have the authority to modify contracts and defer payments. They don't have much they can do. Yes, they can contact the customer, but they can't make the customer produce money they don't have. They can't fix a delinquency problem because life is just life. People have setbacks.
Yeah.
Some are real, some are imagined, but either way, there are real setbacks. There will be real delinquency. So the question is, how do you manage that? And so what we're saying is that when we look beyond delinquency and we look at collection efficiency, then now we are beginning to measure, okay, how well are we doing at getting money in the bank over time, even if some of the customers are paying a little bit late. Yeah. Some may pay a little early. Some may need a payment arrangement to get caught up or whatever, how that looks. But when that's happening, then I would say the portfolio is performing quite well. And the other reason that is because the reason I picked this number first is because you think about it, dealers, if this number is clean, then that means we have a clean, well-performing portfolio. We don't have a lot of dead wood. By dead wood, I mean non-performing contracts.
That we haven't charged off, that are sitting there until it's the right time or whatever to charge them off.
So we're looking at active. We're looking at very clean, active portfolio. The contracts that are on the DMS report of active receivables, they're performing. And not to say we don't have a few customers past due that we're working on. But the reality is you've got a pretty high percentage of your customers are performing. Okay. So now we just know that from history, when I say 93%, there's an explanation for where that 7% goes. And we hope it's only 4% in your case. But the reason I'm picking 93% is because we just know from experience that there will be some customers who don't. So there's really just two categories. And always when I present this in a classroom, I always ask the class to answer for me, what are the two places that money can go? If we're over, and by the way, that's over a 10-week period is typically what we measure.
Yeah,
at least
a rolling
10-week average. So when I say 93%, that number shouldn't move a whole lot, but it should certainly stay in that 93% or better range. But when we think about, okay, so if across 10 weeks we collected 93% of the money, let's break down, where's the 7% go? Well, some of that's that customer who didn't pay. They were on our active list. We tried to find them. We tried to get a resolution. Maybe we had a payment arrangement. They didn't pay, whatever the point is. The contract, the software is still spitting out that we have an active account and that we're expecting a payment, and then we didn't ultimately collect on that customer and we end up charging it off. So all those payments that went uncollected across a range of time are going to contribute to that number, which is why it's important to get those resolved. We don't want those sitting inactive or non-performing and on our active list for very long. And so when you hear me talking about dealers having 96% collection efficiency, it's because they're very timely with those charge-offs. They have a routine. They clean off the old non-performing contracts. They bring the car back in inventory and it goes to wholesale, whatever, but they move those non-performing contracts off of their balance sheet and off of their receivables, their active receivables list, right? And so now you got a clean portfolio. So this is why I say this is the best number. If you're going to pick one, this would be the number. It's also, you begin to realize why this number becomes the best one for rewarding collectors who are doing that job. If the strategy, if the philosophy is to get the payments in the bank, even if they come a little late, then this number becomes the best way to reward collectors, because now they're doing the job we've asked them to do. And even though the delinquency might move a little bit, we don't have to penalize collectors for collections performance.
Well, and a lot of collectors are bonused based on, and it's been like recency or delinquency, those kind of numbers. And it's a demoralizing.
Sure.
And a hard prospect if you are really behind on some accounts to like get that caught up so I can start to get my bonus. But if you do this based on performance, collection performance, then it's like they have a reset every week.
Yeah.
And it's like, how well are we doing? And like, you can start to measure that. And it helps an awful lot with morale too. It's like, we're working hard and we're getting the benefit of working hard on different, tightening up collections.
And so you can see why, even though, and listen to this, I'm not saying you still don't look at your delinquency report. I'm simply saying we need to see it for what it is. We need to not overreact to delinquency, and we need to recognize if we track this collection efficiency on a 10-week rolling average, and that number is running clean, then and our delinquency is stable. Now, if it gets a little bit out of whack, then this doesn't mean there's not work to do, but it simply means let's not overreact to delinquency. There's a couple of problems with that. One, it's we stand to penalize our collectors based on a delinquency bonus. Maybe we also end up putting pressure on a consumer who maybe is doing what we've asked them to do. So that's a thing. Again, that's why I come back to philosophy. Like when we work with the consumer and we give them time to get caught up, and it might take a little bit of time, then that's why I think this number becomes so important. So near term, I would lean on that one. Yes, I'm still going to look at a delinquency report. I'm going to ask the manager to turn that in. I want to see, but I want to see collection efficiency numbers for the week and then for the 10-week rolling average. And I can see how well we've done, and I can know, and collectors can know, okay, for us to finish our 10-week rolling average, by the end of the pay period, whatever, by the bonus period, we'll know exactly what we need to collect in dollars to get there and to keep those numbers on track. But it's like, I just get concerned about dealers. And listen, we could do a whole separate episode, and we probably will, on the problems that external pressures create, whether that's a loan from a bank and the covenants that are in our line of credit that cause us to have to manage customer accounts a certain way because we feel financial pressure when the contract is not eligible, then that causes us externally to put pressure on a portfolio and a particular customer. So that's a whole separate thing. But I'm saying, even if you don't have external factors here, when we're looking at performance of the portfolio, I would just say there's nothing in my experience that is more valuable for any dealer to know and for a dealer to choose to compensate based on is collection efficiency. So I hope we've kind of characterized, I think we just briefed over or glazed over the idea that you're going to filter out unexpected payments. So when an insurance check comes in for $7,000, but the customer's, or the customer's account was only contractually expected to bring in 350, well, then, you would credit the 350, but the rest would get filtered out. And so when I'm talking about 93%, I'm talking about a filtered number. So just kind of want to recap that to make sure people know what we're talking about. But yeah, that's the number. And then the other one is what I call conversion rate. We did a podcast recently on the morning show with Jimmy Rambo talking about collateral recovery rate, which collateral recovery rate takes a lot of the same numbers that I'm referring to and just puts them into a formula that's also something that banks tend to look at for portfolio performance. So this is a longer range number, still look at typically a 3-month rolling average. But if you want to see, is my collection department performing well? Then those two numbers I gave. So conversion rate, to be clear, would be the number that you collect in principal. Typically conversion rate, collateral recovery, we're just looking at principal. So we're looking at how well did we convert the principal in the portfolio? How well did we do to get that money collected? And so that's a measurement of how well are we squeezing our portfolio or massaging our portfolio to get the payments from the customers, and avoid the charge-offs and keep the customers paying, which is what we all know is the thing. So when I say, it's just hard to talk about this without bringing philosophy into the conversation, because if you don't have this sort of bend without breaking philosophy, then delinquency is your report. Everybody's got to pay by Friday at 6:00 or else, then delinquency is your report. But if you want to, and some might lean over to recency in addition to that, but it's like if you're taking this approach where you're working with people and letting them pay, and we put out the poll about partial payments a few weeks ago, and most said they do partial payments. So if you don't do partial payments, I'd love to hear from you. I'd like to understand why. Maybe we'll bring some folks on the podcast one morning and talk through that and see kind of why the mentality about, not allowing that. I probably understand it. Like I probably understand what they're choosing in that, but bottom line is we could bring folks together to talk about that. Well, I just think for today, we just want to drive home those two is we got to know how well our portfolio is converting principal, and not to mention just all the ability to do forecasting off of that for you to be able to sit down and project incoming capital for next month or the next 3 months. These numbers would be the first numbers you would need in order to be able to project what kind of dollars you're going to be bringing in. So again, I just think for today, it was about making sure that dealers hear this, have an opportunity to understand it. If you need help producing the calculations, by all means, reach out to me. We can tell you what reports to run in certain softwares to run the projection based on contractual payments. There are only a few. I'm aware of maybe 3 that produce a projected payment report in the way that I'm suggesting dealers would use it. So again, it's just it's for today. That was just about making sure that folks understand that it's like we got to, as dealers, and I think especially now, economy is going to be tough. You're going to be suffering some delinquency. You're going to, have customers struggling financially and going to, have trouble making a full payment. So in order to avoid having a whole back lot full of repos, I'm saying it's going to be really important to get the hang of these numbers and figure out how to calculate them, make sure that we've got some flexibility and hopefully we don't have covenant problems with our line of credit.
That's, like you said, is another topic
different
for
subject.
us. Yeah, different
we'll bring
subject
that back
about
at another time and talk about that because there's some other factors and all that as well. So, but yeah, for today, I think we probably can wrap up and catch everybody on Wednesday. We got something fun to talk about on Wednesday.
Yeah,
we'll get you up to speed on that. But yeah, look for the announcement on that episode, and we're excited to.
Yeah, and then on Friday we have Brent Carmichael, and we always just really enjoy Brent. He's such a delightful person. Yeah, we really really enjoy him. What else? Anything else?
Got nothing.
Okay.
No. We'll just
we'll post that webinar in the comment streams. So be looking for that. And I hope you guys have a great week. Happy Monday.
Enjoy your week.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys.